All right, welcome everybody. If you're new to the channel, welcome to it. This is sort of a return to form. If you go through all of my old videos, I did delete most of them except for the earners. You gotta make a business somehow, and this game's about discoverability. So if you clicked on those and clicked on this, tone's gonna be a bit different. I made a lot of videos for beginners, and I kind of blew out on that one because it's not really where I am. So if you are a beginner and you've lured your way onto this post, I mean, feel free to stick around, but this video is mostly gonna be for the guys at the top of the mountain or trying to climb there. This isn't really for you in terms of new stuff, but hey, if you wanna stick around and see what you could do with this hobby, feel free. I've also made a lot of my old videos private, mostly because I didn't really think the quality of them was where they needed to be or the content was really good. I was trying to do a lot of what everybody else was doing in different fields, and now I want to try something that's just me. So you got to deal a little bit with the rebranding here, but as it is, we're moving on to sort of what I know and what I do. So today's video, we're going to be going over my med pack, and I'm going to sort of talk about what 99% of airsofters need, and then what the 1% of airsofters could use. And I'll just dig straight into it. So this is the 99%, super quick to go over. This is a Spirit System Mark III fanny pack. I think they call it the SAC or something. It's a super nice fanny pack. I'm a big proponent of fanny packs because unlike danglers for extra storage, they don't stick on your vest. So if you ever ditch your plate carrier, this will still be with you, and it's super low profile even when it's fully filled up. Now, what do I mean when I say 99% of airsofters need? Well, what I have in here for when I'm a medic or just when I'm playing is my booboo kit. So you've got stuff like insect spray, aloe vera, blister caps, stuff like that. That's pretty common injuries that you can find around the airsofting field. I have whatever I need to treat in this. Actually, right now, what I have in here is just a bunch of chem sticks because we were doing some goon stuff and I needed chem sticks and not booboo kits. So obviously not representative of the form, but you would probably want something like this in like 99% of your kits if it's going to Milsims or if it's going to just normal skirmish days. You want something like this in your kit because this is like 99% of your injuries. Are you a medic if you just use something like this, like a booboo kit? Doesn't have to be a fanny pack, could be an IFAK or whatever. I'm inclined to say yes and no. And I know that's a super clear answer, but essentially what it means is that yeah, you can act as a medic when you're doing this, and you could actually treat people, which is cool, and you can help out your team and make sure that their gentle man paws don't get scuffed up while you're playing. But ultimately, what really makes you a medic is both playstyle and equipment. A lot of people like to say that airsoft isn't really about equipment, and I'd be prone to agree. If you're just going on a normal skirmish day, none of this matters. You got iPro, you got a gun, you're good to go. Like, you don't need all of this stuff, but again, this is top of the mountain stuff. So I'm gonna go over what you need to be a great medic, specifically in a Milsim context. So this is just a good idea. I really recommend having a booboo kit wherever you go. Super simple, that's just me. You might be wondering, like, why am I making a video for 1% of airsofters? Well, it's my channel, so I can do whatever the hell I want. So taking the booboo kit and putting it away, and we get into the nitty gritty. So what does it actually take to be a medic at an airsoft game? That really depends on what organizer you're working with, what event you're at, and what you're doing. 99% of event holders are gonna have tourniquet rules. Got Milsim West and stuff like that, they definitely have tourniquet rules, and every like small organizer will have tourniquet rules. So technically you could be a medic at a Milsim just by having a tourniquet. But why do we do Milsim? It's for the simulation, and I like nothing more than to make sure that the people I attend with and the people around me are having a better immersive experience. What does it take to be a medic at an airsoft Milsim? Well, I feel like inside this pack is represented 3 areas of medic work. There is the required by rules, so the essentials. There's the immersion boosters, or whatever I do to make the sim feel more simulated. and then actual emergency medical gear, because accidents do happen. So let's start with like the essentials and work our way towards sim, what the different aspects mean. So you got stuff that's essential that's written in the rules or the tax op. You might be familiar with stuff like the tourniquet rule. Tourniquet rule is like the most common medic rule out there. Some use it differently than others, but the gist of it is that if you are down or wounded, a friend or yourself can tie a tourniquet to you and you can be revived or prolonged life in a down but not out state. So tourniquets are super important. There are no tourniquets on this thing because they're too important to just leave on my back. Again, this is a backpack, so I want to be able to reach my tourniquet without needing to reach into this. So I have one tourniquet on my belt, one tourniquet on my plate carrier, one tourniquet in my uniform, and then I have double ups, triple ups, depending on how big of a force we're moving out with. Full team is 9 people. I like to have a tourniquet for at least 2/3. So I end up rocking 7 tourniquets in each line of my gear. So this would be line 3, line 2, plate carrier, line 1, belt, and then line 0 is just me and my uniform. I like to have at least 2 in every line. And if I finally do need something in this, I do use these like 40mm grenade pouches. 2 of them can fit tourniquets, and then I can fit smoke and the others. Figure it out with your team. Talk with the team, like, what do you need? What do you feel like you need? If everybody carrying 2 tourniquets, one for themselves, one for a buddy revive, maybe you don't need to carry 10. Figure it out. Maybe your team is the kind of people who die a lot. I know mine is. So figure out, talk strategy. We think it's a good idea to have smoke on the medic because it means that I can pull cover and actually medevac someone effectively. Hey, that's just how we do things. But again, essentials, simulation. So what do I do for simulations? Well, I got a lot of stuff in this that's for the extra. I'm a kind of an extra guy. As you'll see in the videos to come, I'm an extra guy, as in I'm extra in credit card debt. And that's why I do it. A lot of people are like, why do you play Airsoft? There's a million different reasons for that, but I feel like, why do you play Milsim? There should be one answer, and that's for the simulation. Don't play Milsim to get kills. Don't play Milsim to be a badass. Maybe play Milsim to meet your favorite influencers. Sure, that's a good way of doing it. But ultimately, you're playing Milsim because of the simulation. There's a new trend coming up where a lot of people from the firearms community are getting into Airsoft Milsim for the force-on-force training. I agree completely with that sentiment. I think show up, do up, done up. But maybe if some of you guys find this video, realize that we are here to roleplay and to make pretend. And if you're here for force-on-force simulation, the simulation aspect is important as well. The stress, the fatigue, the shattered mental state of some people sometimes. It helps you engage better and understand how things can evolve in a very stressful situation. So you're welcome. I'm just kidding, guys. There are stuff in this that are in it not because they're necessary, but because they add to the simulation. Finally, I have the actual emergency stuff. That's pretty self-explanatory. If accidents happen, I can help potentially save a life, and I think that's important. So we're gonna go over the external of the bag, why I set it up like I have. Then we're gonna go inside and we're gonna do a tour. I already talked about the pockets. These are like Warrior Assault System 40mm pockets because I didn't feel like scrounging up LBTs and paying like my firstborn son for each of them. So these are like cheap Warrior Assault Systems. They're good. They do the job. This is like, the fuck do you want me to say? It's a pouch. I have a very visible medic bag tag. This is from Patch Panel in Canada. And like, this tag is very visible for a reason. My team, we have specialty roles that cover mostly backpack usage, and sometimes we do goon shit. Sometimes it's night, sometimes we gotta go fast, and it's kind of cool to see, okay, this is a medic bag, bring it, because the bags that we'll be sort of developing the team with, they'll all be very similar in form and layout, but the content will be different. So here we have a med bag, could be an EOD bag, could be a radio operation bag, stuff like that. It's nice to actually be able to see at a glance, is it a medic bag or is it an EOD bag, in case you're flinging it over your shoulder, because you're not going to be buddy rezzing a lot of people with frags, unless you're me. So Down at the bottom, I got the mother load of all 100 miles an hour tape. If you are one of the guys who question why do you have 100 mile an hour tape on your kit, you're kind of an idiot. Always, always, always carry tape. It's got a million purposes, and if you can only think of some, that's your prerogative. Then I have some IR chem lights attached to it. Sure, we can talk about near peer. They have night vision capabilities. They can see you. In the end, I'd rather not get blue on blued, so I use IR chem lights sometimes for that, but all the time they just look cool, so that's why I use them. And some extra long zip ties. Again, zip ties, same principle as tape, a million uses, and if you can't figure out more than one, that's probably your problem. Now, the bag itself is a TAC Ops TSSI bag. This is the M9. I think they made an M10 and an M11. M10 and M11 to me looks like a full-on Bergen backpack, like you're about to hike out with a field hospital. That's a bit too much for me. This is a slim pack, carries more than I need, and it kind of makes sense both size and form-wise. I'm not limited in a major way by carrying this equipment. If you're a medic out there and you are like, oh, I'll just carry all my medical equipment in my hydration carrier or whatever, or a hydration carrier, think again, because you gotta ask yourself, will I always have the ability to get it out of the pocket? Will I have a buddy to pull shit out of my medic bag? Will I be able to take it off? Will I be able to take my plate carrier off? 9 out of 10 times the answer is no. If you've ever actually been a medic at a big event that you were actually doing medic work and not just like holding on to someone and counting to 10, you'll figure out pretty quickly if you need to get into a pack, it needs to come off you and it needs to be movable, hence the backpack. I think one point that I'd like to make is that if you can find something with straps that actually click, super useful, because if you're prone, laying on your ass and trying to get low, you don't really want to start wiggling around to try to get your pack off. It's nice to just click it off and pull it over your head. Hence why it also has this handle. This is a handle you can easily grab, even like over your shoulder at an awkward angle, and pull it over your head. So I highly recommend the TSSI M9 bag. I really like it. If you feel like you need to carry a field hospital, look at the M10 or the M11. And if you're in the Scandinavian Army, Swedish, Norwegian, or Danish, you've probably seen this before. It's not standard issue, but it's one of the ones that are really recommended. So you've probably seen it before. It's a great pack. I like it. So let's open it up and see inside. Remember those 3 principles: the essentials, so what's required by rules, the sim, and the emergency, and I'll sort of go through what I got in here. So these are all rip-away pockets, which are convenient in case I'm working with multiple medics or a buddy is aiding someone. I can rip these out very easily and pass them to a friend or just lay them out in front of me. I like them. They're pretty cool. Again, great bag, so that's setup dependent. But a good tip that I want to give to you guys out there is label these. I've tossed out all the labels because I've just rearranged everything. But you can label these to help you in a tight spot to actually see what's inside the pouches without having to go through them, or to help your buddies. So if you've got someone helping you and you're like, pass me the compression gauze, he doesn't have to like, is it this one? Is it this one? You know, he'll know if he can read. Half my team can't. That's okay too. We accept all kinds. So if we just go from top to bottom, again, talking about essentials, up here, I have my bandages. These are essentials under some of the rules that we play under because we have wound cards that cause modifiers. A lot of those modifiers require you to treat with bandaging. For example, shot in the arm, disables the arm. So a way you actually signal that it's disabled is by tying a bandage to it. So I have those. These are also good for actual medical purposes because they are still bandages. So you can tie up a sprain, or worst case scenario, I do also have some like suction stuff, so if there is an actual bleed, we can bandage it. They are also sterile. These are unpacked, vacuum sealed, so they are sterile in case of an actual emergency. So these bandages cover every single aspect, both essential, Milsim, and of course emergency. So I keep those. I keep a lot of those And I have a lot of those, and that's for that reason, because they cover all fields, and they're also one of the more common injuries. Next pack is exactly the same thing. I think the only difference is that on the bottom, I have some elastic. I have some elastic ones that are with clips. These are just good if you need to get out in a hurry, or if you're just trying to bandage people up relatively quickly, or make a sling, you know, you name it. I also have some that are slightly shorter because they're better for arms or legs instead of actual full chest seals. But we'll get back into that later. And then third pouch, same story. It's just different kinds of bandages. Again, I need to use bandages a lot. And if you ever do get into a real emergency, you need to use bandages a lot. So good to have a lot of them. The only modifier here is my actual bandage tape. Always keep a roll of bandage tape on you if you're playing medic, mostly because if you can't tie a knot or your friend can't tie a knot, tape it, easy peasy. And pro tip, bandage tape is really good for making these labels. So you can write on it with a pen and you can just label it. No sweat whatsoever. I like angel tapes. I think it's called angel skin or something weird in Danish, but bandage tape is what I call it. So all of this is 3 tiers, essentials, and it's medically required in case of an emergency, as well as Milsim. So that's a nice all over rounded pocket. Now we're moving into the bit more Milsim focused stuff. So the stuff that increases the simulation of the situation. So let's say you're medevacing someone, getting carried out in a stretcher or over the shoulder on someone. These are really cool for adding, again, immersion, interest, all that jazz. These are rescue blankets or shock trauma blankets. I've seen them like tinfoil stuff. They're to prevent people from going into shock because they actually like thermically balance people. And there's something about like the texture of them or whatever. I have 2 of them. You can fold them in and reuse them if you really care about them, but they cost next to nothing, so I don't know why you would. But tie a guy up with one of these, or like blanket him, or like if he's dead, fold him over or whatever. It adds to his immersion, it adds to the people who are looking at you's immersion, and it gives you something to do as well. And I'm always a fan of stuff to do. So, as you can see peeking out, because I packed this in a dumb way, there's an under the back pocket here that is actually accessibly externally. So this is the same pocket. And here I carry a bit more immersion stuff. So these are aluminum splints. They're like pieces of foam that have a thin sheet of aluminum inside of them, so they're formable. And then you could form a splint for an arm, you could form a splint for a leg, you could double pad it for a firm splint around a knee joint or something like that. You go under a foot to spray it to splint an angle. Sometimes these are required by rules that you actually need to splint and disable the limb that's been shot for whatever purpose. I mostly keep these because, again, they're kind of cool. If you're bandaging up a leg because it's been shot or you blew out a kneecap or whatever, Milsim wise, splint him. It looks cool in the fob, looks cool in photos. He feels cool because he actually feels like he's treated, and you're the guy with the splints, so everybody likes you. These are also great for actual, I wouldn't say medical emergencies, but if a dude sprains an ankle or fucks himself up on a hill or something, these can actually be a great help while he makes his way back. So splint and bandage, and he might actually be able to make his way back without needing to amputate his foot. Underneath here, I keep more sim stuff. So these are combat gauzes, but they're not for medical use. So they're simulated training only. It even, yeah, I've just read out the fucking instruction, didn't I? So these are what you would put underneath a bandage, gauze, in case you don't know. Again, this is for simulation stuff. Like if he feels that he's actually being bandaged and actually being gauzed, it helps his immersion, helps your immersion. And if the dude's gonna be on the ground for 5 minutes because of the rules, you might do stuff anyway to make it feel cool and not waste your time. So that's one of the ways I actually make medicing fun, is by actually treating people. These are all in this like zipper bag. It's accessible from the external, mostly because A, it's one of the bigger pockets, so it can actually fit all these splints and stuff. But B, you might actually want to be able to get a splint without having to take the whole thing up. Now we're moving to the lid. Now the lid has This ready rig purpose thing, I'd like to deck this out with something that's a little more aesthetic but still useful, because if you're laying on the ground and I come up and I'm starting to medic you and I pop this open and you see this, you're like, okay, this guy takes it seriously. Again, about simulating and everything and falling into the role play. And then underneath that, I have the I hope I never actually need to open up this pocket, real medical emergency stuff. So we're just gonna open up that pocket. Oh my God, I've done it. Anyway, inside here we have chest seals. Chest seals are like big wet thumbtack stickers that you put over bullet wounds in people's chest. Yeah, it's pretty gross, but hey, if a blank fire weapon happens, or you know, someone just gets slotted because a technical decided to transport six tons of rebar and one of them flew out and clapped your homie in the chest, you can pull it out and chest seal him, and you might save his life. So they weigh nothing. They're like thin sheets, so I just have them in case of an emergency. It will probably never happen. Statistics say it'll never happen, but statistics also said that Epstein was likely to kill himself. So in here I also have actual wound cards. So I should probably call them something else. They're Mista cards. So essentially these are cards that an EMT rescue helper would need to see what has he been treated with, what is the status of him, is his skin slow, dry, is it wet, is it cold, is it hot, where was he hit, is it an arm injury, back injury, head injury. These cards I actually also have a Milsim version of. These are laminated. And these are just for fun. So I intend to use these on patients that I've treated where I want to be a little bit extra. So you write their name and their service number and everything like that. You explain what you did to them, and then you just put it on their wrist, a little rubber band. And that way they feel like they were actually treated by an EMT. And there is a practical aspect of this as well. If they get medic by another guy later, and there are rule modifiers that say, if you've already been hit in the arm, this needs to happen. And then that medic can see, oh, this guy was actually hit in the arm, and then he needs to modify it. So he doesn't need to break immersion by actually asking you, hey buddy, have you been hit in the arm before? You just look at your wound card. Very smart. So talked about this aesthetic piece before. There are some functions to it, but I like the bright colors and it makes me feel happy. So I use these chem lights to mark dead people or downed people if it's dark and I need to have situational awareness of where people are. I usually just keep 2 because I'm not trying to treat more than that, plus a third that I'm obviously attending. Trauma shears, they're good to have. They can cut open bandages. I'm not about to slice open your LBTs or anything. Don't worry about that. They're just good to have, and also they do look cool. Zip ties, because zip ties are amazing, and especially if you're tying down your extra hard to hit patients, good to have. Then I have disinfectant wipes. Times like these, disinfectant wipes are pretty important. So I just have a load of them, but they're pretty good to have. And then finally, I have our painkiller. Now, some rules say that painkiller is fine if it's Tic Tacs, and that can be really good if you have Tic Tacs in a little orange bottle and a little pill jar. That can be pretty great. I use these suction tablets because they are more realistic to what an actual trauma EMT would use. They're like suction tablets that have no active ingredient in them. So these are for simulation purposes again. They increase the milsim of it, and these are what you would actually be giving and dosing morphine out. Ain't nobody trying to jab anyone with syringes in the middle of a dirty field. So these suction tablets are what modern military use these days. Obviously these don't have morphine. Again, I'm not drugging my teammates while we're playing. And these just add a little bit more to the immersion. They're like a cooler way of doing painkillers. You can buy them on Amazon for almost nothing. Just make sure you get the simulation one so you don't get clapped by being a morphine dealer. And finally, at the top, we have a little extra bag that I just keep miscellaneous in. I think all medic bag needs just a random piece of cloth. I think this was tied into a sling. Again, talking about multi-purpose with the tape and the zip ties. Cloth has that as well. Some mouth shields or face shields. I'm not trying to get gross with you guys, so if you do fall over in your triple XL cry dev group cuts, well, I'm not trying to make out with you while I perform CPR, so I got a couple of face shields. That's for actual medical emergency stuff. And then blue rubber gloves. I like to keep these for the Milsim of it, because let's pretend that we're in a situation where you're gonna be on the ground for 5 minutes because the rules say so. I need to deposit an IV or something. I like to wear blue gloves because it gives you the feeling that I'm actually being treated by a medical professional. It looks like someone's being treated by a medical professional. And it gives Rust4 a very clear target of who to shoot if you want the enemy to stop coming. So I'm all about that. Got to make clear communications obvious. And it helps NATO, or just blue on blue, see that, oh, that guy's a medic. I should probably contact him if I'm trying to get my buddy up. So this is just extra stuff. It's blue trauma gloves cost nothing. You can literally get a box of hundreds of them for nothing. But they help. They increase the Milsim of it. They look professional and they feel professional. You have a better time. The guy on the ground has a better time. Everybody looking at you has a better time. And that's really the antithesis of medics. Medics is one of the roles that can really add to Milsim. If you have medics that really care about what they're doing, they can add to the whole feel and roleplay and vibe of the event. Much in the same way, if you have medics who just don't roleplay at all, it kind of takes away from it. I think medic is one of the key players in making immersion happen. Medics, EODs, and radio operators, that holy trinity of workers, can make or break any Milsim game for sure. So that's why I take Milsim medicing pretty damn seriously, and why I try to make sure that everybody there has a great experience by me just being extra. So that's pretty much the breakdown of what I carry as a medic and why I carry it. If you have any comments, leave them in the comments. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll probably answer. I'll at least try to. If you have any questions about the kit or anything like that, again, leave them.